Singabako, thank you very much for your time. Now, given that correction by judges to add or incorporate that 506 days from when he was first sentenced, during our calculation now, he should have served the minimum of a third of his sentence. Would that make him correctly eligible for parole?
A very good day, and thank you for having us. As a department, we have stated that Oscar Pistorius is being prepared for a process called the victim offender dialogue. It is almost the last leg before an inmate is taken before the parole board, where there is a consideration whether that person is suitable for parole placement. So once that is done, his profile will go before the parole board. Then a decision will be taken whether he is placed on parole or not. So we are not yet there, but what we can also confirm is that Section 73 of the Correctional Services Act it does state that a person sentenced to a determined sentence must serve at least the minimum time before that person is considered for parole placement. So that's we are almost there in terms of taking his profile to the parole board, but we can't take it there if not all processes have been completed. We need to complete all of them. Otherwise, taking his profile before the parole board before we complete all these processes will not assist us.
Now, the victim-offender dialogue sounds quite self-explanatory, but just for clarity, would this be a dialogue with the family of the deceased, or there are other people that he would be in dialogue with, perhaps community members?
Okay, how it works is that an offender would be sentenced. Then as a department, we draw what we call a correctional sentence plan, which talks to correcting the offending behavior, the rehabilitation program that the inmate will have to follow, but then also the element of restorative justice. Why is that necessary? An inmate has to comprehend the harm that he or she has caused to the victims, their families, the community, and an opportunity ought to be created either for reconciliation or an apology to be made, and for all parties to find each other. When crime is committed, the victims is not only the family that has lost someone or the one who's been victimized, but even the inmates' family, relatives, and other people also become victims. Hence, then it's important that it's an open process. Every party must be informed of what is it about, what are the objectives, and what is the likely outcome of it. But at the end of the day is to say, once a person, let's say, is placed out, at least a process is there where, they had started engaging, so that perhaps one day if, one is saying, no, I think now I'm more than ready to engage full on this, maybe I can forgive you, or maybe it's a process which, will take its own course. But it has to be done so that all parties do get a chance, to pose questions, get answers, and then the healing and also the closure can also be effected. So as a department, we took this decision to say there ought to be victim offender dialogue for inmates before they are considered for parole placement.
You say, Singabako, the intention here is for the parties to find each other in this dialogue. How much value or weight is placed on this type of dialogue in terms of him possibly being reintegrated into society? Because, grief is a personal journey where you might find the family of the victim might not be willing to forgive, but you find that the perpetrator is in other respects rehabilitated. So how much weight is placed on this dialogue for his parole to be granted?
Victim offender dialogue is not a once-off a process or moment. It's a continuous journey. You are correct in saying other people, may take time. You may find someone saying, you know what, I've got questions, because our criminal justice works in a different way when you compare to other countries. The victim will go there as a witness to assist the state in the case. But then the person will have questions to say, why did you have to offend me or offend my family? Why did you have to, kill, my daughter or my son? There will be, so that person will be expecting answers, and also to understand even other things which may have been, factors which may never have been disclosed, in a court of law, or all other issues which may have been involved. So at least it then creates an environment where parties can start to engage. We know for a fact that it cannot be a matter to say when they meet today, they finance the issue. Someone may say, I'm not yet ready now, but maybe with time, we can then engage fully. But a platform has to be created. Hence, we utilize our specialists, our social workers, psychologists, spiritual caregivers to really work on this. And all parties must be prepared beforehand to say, this is what we are likely, to confront. Please expect things like this. Hence, we even have what we call an aftercare, because let's say in the middle of that dialogue, we reach a point where we do feel that there must be some other form of interventions. Then you need those specialists, to take such decisions. Hence, as a department, we always stress that it must be handled with sensitive care, because it can be very emotional, and at all times we have to protect, the victims and even the inmate. Hence, then we even have to prepare the inmate before going into victim-offender dialogue, because one may say, I thought I'll just go there and apologize, whereas it's not just about that.
It sounds very detailed and involved. So given all that you've spoken of, how long a period would it take for this process to conclude?
It starts even with what we call victim-offender mediation, where it would be our officials engaging with each parties. And once they reach to a point where to say, perhaps maybe there is now space where, all parties are in a position to meet, and they still have to be there to ensure that, that dialogue takes place in an environment which is convenient for everyone. Hence, then even when they feel that it's still not, it may still not be appropriate, they know the interventions that they need to make, but they have to take care of it. Hence, at times you find that it's a process that continues even, let's say, an inmate has been placed on parole or the inmate is still inside, but it has to continue even post-incarceration, so that at the end of the day, all parties could find each other. It may take months, it may take years, but people who often offend each other, either they may have met before, there could be families, there could be relatives. So it's something that you cannot just leave it out there to say someone has served the time, therefore there is no need to, to reach out to the person or the family that you victimized. Hence, as a department, we ought to create that platform, but it has to be managed appropriately. Hence, we don't take chances. We allow our specialists to assist in that particular process.
Oh, Singabakho, I was hoping you'd give me the date. I was trying to pin you on the date, but thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That is Singabakho Nxumalo, spokesperson for the Department of Correctional Services, talking to us on Oscar Pistorius and him possibly being released on a parole.